Welcome to Crystal Coaching Connections, this video podcast where we dive deep into real stories, real growth, real alignment. Every week, I get to sit down with purpose-driven entrepreneurs, creatives, and everyday change makers to talk all things personal development, wellness, and what it really means to live a life in flow. If we haven't met yet, I'm Crystal. I am your life coach that helps you to overcome stress and live your best life. I help men and women to overcome their stressful and burnt out lives naturally, and I can help them to get back to where they're feeling confident, connected, and in control of their lives again. Think of me as your guide to clarity, calm, and that so satisfying sense of alignment. So grab a coffee or a tea, take a break, and let's get into it. This week on the show, I have a very good friend of mine, Ben Levine. Ben is a fourth-generation plumber, but more importantly, a devoted husband to Sherry Ann, a father, a caretaker of something much bigger than just a business. Levine Bros Plumbing has been serving Montreal since 1922. But for Ben, it's been more than just a company. It's a thread that's tied together 4 generations, count them, of his family. He grew up learning the trade from his father and his grandfather, not just how to fix pipes, but how to treat people, how to show up when it counts, and how to do work that you're proud of. And now, as a father himself, he's passing on those values down, not only to his kids, but to his team that he leads and the clients that he serves. Ben believes that plumbing is about people and that water connects us in ways we often forget through warmth, safety, comfort, and care. Please welcome someone who works with his hands, leads with his heart, and shows us what a true family legacy really looks like. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you so much for having me. What a great intro. Thank you.
No problem. Anytime. I'm really happy to be doing this. For those of you who don't know, and you probably don't know, besides me and Ben, we have been trying to do this for the last 30 minutes now, and we were having some serious technical difficulties. So thank goodness, this is how we learn how to pivot, right, Ben?
Amen. I mean, there's always challenges in life, and it's how you react to them that shows the character.
Yeah. So I wanted to have you on the podcast because I'll give a little context here. So Ben and I are in a networking group. We have been in this group I've been in the group for 5 years. You've been in the group for about 8?
Going on 9.
Going on 9 years. Okay. So Ben has a long standing in this group of networking professionals. And over the course of the last 5 years, I've had the pleasure of not only just getting to know him and his business, but Ben and I have actually been in kind of a coaching mentorship relationship that actually goes back and forth.
As symbiotic as it could get, I think.
It's as symbiotic as it can get. I love the way that you said that. I love that word, symbiotic. And, in talking with Ben, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about business. I've grown as a person. And so I always really like to have people like you on the show because, you're very connected to the personal development side of things. And I think that's something, and you're going to hear me saying this a lot on the podcast. It's something that we kind of lose in the corporate world. We spend a lot of time on professional development, and there's such a fundamental baseline of personal development that is often forgotten. And what I love about getting to know you is that you have been on this journey for personal development for many, many years. And I wanted to take a moment to find out, tell me, Ben, what has your journey looked like?
Whoa. Okay. Let's start there. I mean, listen, growing up. So I'm going to give a little bit of context to the whole story. So growing up, my dad was 3rd generation. The business was always there. It was always present. Spring breaks, I would come in. I just spoke yesterday with a plumber that worked for us for 40 years. And his name is Nick. When I was 5, 6 years old, I was doing service calls with him. He taught me my tools. So I would work in the warehouse between camp and winter breaks and all that. I'd go on trucks. I'd work with servicemen. I grew up. The ice storm hit. The ice storm was awesome.
That was a big one.
In January of 98, I was in grade 11 at the time. The whole city of Montreal almost shut down completely. But there was something much deeper from our side, from our point of view, is people who lost power. We were going into their homes and we were protecting their homes, emptying out all the water and making sure that none of the plumbing fixtures and none of the piping would break and burst and have extra problems. And we were working 12, 16, 20-hour days. And I mean, a grade 11 kid, at the time, my friends were getting together or having sleepovers, playing video games. A couple were volunteering at the shelter that was set up at my high school, but there was a different level of contribution that I felt going in and saving people's homes. So I think that was part of it, really embedded in me, that 2 weeks that I worked straight. And then the second half is we're restoring people's homes. It's getting heating systems up and running that had almost frost conditions, like getting people's homes so that they could live back in them again. The gratitude that was shown to us, the impact. The first part of it is I'm protecting a house. The second one is I'm reestablishing a home. That had a huge impact on me.
I feel like that is like a big part of, your purpose. And you had an opportunity to really step into it at that young of an age, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not everybody that has that opportunity to see how their contribution is creating impact in people's lives through their businesses.
Especially as like in Sec 5. However, here's the kicker to the whole thing. In Sec 5 and grade 11, I wanted to be a physio. I
Mm.
really wanted to. I mean, I knew I want to help people. That's is my ultimate. That is like my northern star, shining light, lighthouse on the foggy waters. I want to help people, but I love playing sports. I get hurt a lot. So I thought I'd help myself and be able to help other people and go into physio. And so I that was grade 11 all at the same time. So I went into health sciences and CJEP, and I will use the best term I could. I muddled through my sciences, and then in my third semester, I took a Canadian business class, and everything just clicked.
Very
Everything.
interesting.
So it went really from wanting to help people one on one on a table to get them up and running and quality of life. Shout out to all the physios out there, because God knows
We need you.
we need, yeah, exactly. It just wasn't for me. But then I saw a mindset shift right away, like second year CJEP, where I really could see the business as a way to help people. And so that was a huge part of my journey. So went into that fourth semester, and then I ended up doing the
The switch over.
fifth and sixth semesters, because you know what? Better to have found what my life's journey should be when I'm in CJEP than to wake up at 45 years old and realize I was on the wrong path. And thankfully, my parents were supportive, and my dad had always said, "You don't have to come into the company, but if you do, you need to get a university degree." So, you know what? What better university degree could I get? And it was amazing, because those business classes, it didn't feel like school anymore.
Mm.
It felt like I was absorbing knowledge, like I was learning to get better instead of every other time besides math courses. And sorry to all of my former teachers, but I think you would understand this from the way I performed. I was in school to get the marks. You write the exam, you're done. You forget everything you needed to learn for it. But I was absorbing, and I learned that it was fun. And then, yeah,
You said something really important before, because it was like in your third semester that you realized what it is, like, okay, that you didn't want to do this and you knew that you had a calling somewhere. How do you think that the way that you were raised and the values that were instilled in you maybe helped you to see that? Because, a lot of people, you also said that your father was very supportive of you, going to explore other avenues. Like, he wasn't holding you to be the fourth generation, right?
right.
It was like, okay, it's there, it's a possibility, but he wasn't holding you to that standard. And so, do you feel like your parents had really a pivotal part of that ability for you to be able to learn on your own?
I was afforded privileges that I will say I'm well aware that most people don't have.
Mhm.
There's, what do they say? With great privilege comes, anyway. Um,
With great
yeah.
power comes great responsibility.
Anyway, but I felt like I felt very fortunate, and I feel fortunate that I had Levine Brothers, and at the time, third generation company was an avenue that I had that a lot of people don't have. I was allowed the flexibility. I was working at the video store, but I didn't have to work at the video store. It was for extra spending money and all that other stuff, but I didn't have to work to support myself. I had friends who needed to work to stay in their apartments and clothe and feed themselves. And so I understood the fortunate side of that. My parents never pushed me. They supported, but never pushed me in any one direction. I'm
Okay.
the youngest. I have two older sisters, and both of those sisters were very high achievers academically. So we followed in the same schooling footsteps. So we had all these teachers that knew my sisters and saw me walk in, and I was not the same.
Mm.
But I think differently than they do. I
Yeah.
learn differently, engage differently, and
I think it's really funny that when it comes to family dynamics, because I've been talking a lot about this lately, family dynamics are very interesting, right? There's a lot of expectations that are held on family dynamics, but we're still individual human beings, and I'm sure if you look at your two sisters, they're extremely different from you. And, we're placed in these families because we're placed in our family. We're literally deposited
ooh,
to our parents and we're chosen, right? We're like, here, this is where I think you fit. But we forget that we're different people and people forget that we're different people. So
yeah,
that comparison game, whether you're the youngest or you're the oldest, is the same, right? Because I know that for my sister and my brother, I'm pretty sure that they had to, walk in my footsteps and it probably felt really awkward going through those moments. Or on the opposite spectrum, like you're so much better than your sister because your sister went haywire.
yeah. I never got better than my sister. Funny. Anyway, no, but it's the same upbringing. It's the same support systems that we had, but it was I had to, especially high school age. There were certain I had to fight to show the differentiation between us, and maybe that was a little bit of my lack of scholastic excellence, so to
Yep.
speak. But
But then you found that scholastic excellence when you were in college and you found business and you fell in love with the principles and the fundamentals of outgrowing something.
yeah, and then into university, I have a BCom in economics, and I loved to study. I loved the classes. I loved to learn. I loved challenging the teachers. I even, for fun, did the extra credit assignments, and the research I did on it went so far beyond what was expected because I would just immerse myself in it. But at that point, I was trying to see how I could use all of the learning, all of the education, everything that was being brought to me, seeing how I could bring it here. So
Mm.
when there was group assignments, I would choose small businesses. I would choose family businesses. I would look at succession plans. And then to go on in my development side of it, something really crazy happened. Is I graduated from school, and as someone who has a university degree, walking into a plumbing company, I verbalized what should have been my internal thoughts and all of the things that I thought could be done or should be done better. And my uncle, so my dad and my uncle were the third generation. My uncle called me into his office and he said, "Listen, you graduated university. Congratulations. Phenomenal. Now you're coming here with zero experience.
Mm.
What I want you to do, keep your mouth shut, keep your ears and eyes open. Learn how, and not just how, but why we do everything, why we've done and how we've progressed to where we are right now. Only once you get a true understanding of the why we got to where we are, could you begin to think about how to change it for the better, because changing for change's sake and is not helpful, and it creates its own problems.
Yeah.
Learn the business, learn the company, learn the system.
That's actually an incredible piece of advice. And your uncle was very, very, I guess he was very in tune with what he'd developed over the years. And having gone through it himself, he probably went through some of the same struggles that you're probably going to tell me about when you took over the business for yourself. But that's also a piece of advice that I had been given when I started in leadership when I was in the banking industry. It was like, when you come into a new space, your job for the first few weeks is to observe. You're not making any changes. You're just watching. You're watching the operations, you're seeing what goes well, you're seeing what could be improved, but taking that opportunity to really step back and just look at things like the machine that is the machine.
Yes. But
And
then
so how long
also,
did that phase take you? Like you had to work in the business. So like you were not you didn't take over the business overnight after you got out of university, right? It was like your
no.
uncle's like, "No, you got to go to work." What was your path through there?
So my first few weeks, I was in the service department, answering phones. The customer service rep was on vacation. My first 2 weeks, he was on vacation. It was a great baptism by fire. He came back. I started sweeping the warehouse. I started helping out in the back. I got my plumbing cards, my CCQ apprenticeship cards. I was doing school at night to be able to get it, safety courses. I went on to a truck. I was working on a job site with a plumber at a job that he had already kicked 4 separate apprentices out of his job site, which, by the way, nobody told me about when I came in. It was
Okay.
like, okay, great,
Again,
you're going there. And there were things that he had asked me to do. And I had knee surgery just before the summer. So this is September-ish when I started at this job site. And he asked me to paint pipes on top of a active heating system. So the pipes were warmed up, and I had an ACL repair surgery 3 months before, not even, and he didn't even know. He said, "Okay, go fix that above there. Go paint those pipes." And I'm like, "Okay." So I took a piece of insulation, I glued it to plywood, threw that on top of the pipes, and I was kneeling all day. Every night I'd go home, and my knee was swollen.
yeah.
And he had no idea. I only told him after the job. And he's like, the amazing part is I had 2 other guys refuse to do that work. I said, refuse? I didn't know that was an
No.
option. How do we refuse? Somebody has to do it. Why wouldn't it be me? I was working. So where that mindset came from, I was working when I was in CJAP with a plumber who's actually our project manager, technical supervisor here now. His name is Jimmy. And we were at this job site in Old Montreal, and we were doing a bathroom renovation, and I had broken up the wall and the floor. And I looked at the plumbing and I said, wow, this is messed up. They should call someone. And if you've met Jimmy, he's like well over 5 feet. And he got up into my face and he said, they did call someone and we're here. There's nobody coming behind us. That was another core memory, an embedment of a value that people rely on us to get things done. There's nobody coming, it's us. We are it. So it's that mindset coming in.
Nobody's coming to save you. So you got to do it.
Nobody's coming to save.
And it's interesting because you learned that in the context of work, but I'm sure that that has translated to pretty much everything else in your life because you are a very, huge advocate for personal development,
Yeah.
coaching, mentorship, therapy, all of the avenues, whether it's the physical body, like in physiotherapy, acupuncture, all of those kinds of things. But essentially, I think what I'm pulling out of this is that nobody is going to come to save you. And it's really in our hands to be able to take everything that is our life or what we want our life to be and just make it happen. There's a way for us to make it happen because nobody's going to hand life to you on a silver platter. And regardless of the privilege that you've had, life is still not the silver platter. You still don't get everything.
If I could add to that, it's where people fall short is feeling that if they're asking for help, then they failed.
Mm.
And I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, is that asking for help is the opposite of giving up. It means that you're refusing to give up, but realizing that you can't do it alone. So I think that together.
I wonder
Really,
if that was a conversation that we might have had together.
possibly
Possibly.
and
That'll be a story for another day, but yeah,
that
I
and
had to
watching the
raise my
boy,
hand.
the mole, the fox, and the horse too.
Was the one that
Beautiful.
needed help. And it's actually a very so I've been faced with that a couple of times in my life that were very profound. And in the healing journey, when you feel like you've started to heal and you feel like you've gotten to this place, sometimes we have a tendency of reverting back to past behaviors. And so even in the most, I spend my day in personal development. This is what I do all day long. I'm in this. And even myself, I can get faced with those moments of weakness where I go back to old behaviors because that's what we're used to, right?
Comfortable.
We're comfortable. Exactly. So thank you for bringing that up. I think that's really important. So back to what you were saying is like raising your hand and asking for help. Can you give me an example of a time that, especially in your business, that you had to bring in that whole personal development mindset and say, I need help?
First, I'll tell you, I really only started on personal development when I sat down with my first coach.
Okay.
And again, it was like 7, 8 years ago. I've been in the company now. I'm going on 21 years.
Mm.
A lot of the development, a lot of the mantras, a lot of my business philosophy came from my dad, came from my uncle, came from the team around me. I had a mentor on the team who had passed away. His name was Hubert, and he was a huge factor in mindset also. But really, up until I started coaching, so up until and again, luckily I had met a coach, and yes, you have to be open for it. You have to be ready. You have to know that this will help you. But this coach really helped me go. At the time, I felt that I was running my dad's business. I was running my dad's business. And through that coaching, and it was a 6-month program, but after the first 3 months of really being able to identify things in myself, in my company, and what I see, in where and how I've gotten to where I was, it helped me going from running my dad's business, running my dad's company, to building and growing where I wanted to go, where
Mm.
I felt we should be moving forward. And definitely different path from my father, but not completely. I built upon the foundation that he put in place and bringing it to another level, another direction.
So you've taken that purpose that your uncle and your father instilled in the business before you took it over, and then you've just amplified it. And it sounds to me, in knowing you, that it's not just you and your business partner. It is something that you instill in every single person, all the way down to the service people, to the trades, to the actual plumbers that are on the road,
And the apprentices coming in
and the
too.
apprentices. Yes.
Yes. Oh, it what I tell them and what we work at on a regular basis is that when we walk into someone's home, we are not there to fix a problem. We are there to use our expertise to help them take care of their home. And I don't know, in French, maison is both house and home,
Yeah.
but in the English side of it, a home is such a different place. A home of a house
It has a
is
hearth,
a
it has
it
feeling,
has
it
feeling.
has
It is
power.
where people raise their children. It is where they put their head at the end of the night. It is where they come to grow as themselves. It is so much beyond the bricks and the pipes and the water and the electricity. It is so much beyond the structure. It is the family behind it. And that's why I keep stressing the word home. And all of that is what we talk about here. Even when we go into apartment buildings, even when we go into businesses, this is not just a building. This is
Mhm.
where someone makes their livelihood. This is where someone helps support and where we help them to serve their purpose.
That is such an incredible domino effect, and I wish more people saw the business that they did as an extension of their purpose in life. And that's why I really wanted to have you on the show because, again, I mean, I know a lot about you, Ben. Like you have an incredible family, but it's like, how is all of this supporting your purpose that's bigger?
Listen, a plumbing company is just it's a company.
Yeah.
I've been able to use plumbing as a way to help. I see plumbing as a greater purpose as a general topic. I believe that plumbing has greater contributions on health, society, economy, and on and on and on. And I think that it is I don't want to degrade anybody else, but it is one of the most noble trades
Hmm.
for in history,
Yeah.
going back thousands of years. That's where we're coming from. But then being able to how I guide the people and help see where we're 48 people in our company. I see us as affecting and directly I see the responsibility of 48 families as part of that purpose. But then even beyond that one, being able to, through the company, being able to lead in different initiatives, being able to actually search out initiatives where we could help at a different level.
Mm.
And it really did start at maybe at a marketing level, maybe at a branding level, really understanding the purpose of the company. And a lot of it really started to manifest with our 4th anniversary.
I was just gonna say, I feel
Yeah.
like the last 5 years, there has been a catalyst that's been happening with your business, but with you as well, because I see you, I see you, you have thoughts from the throne, and I'll make sure that there's gonna be show notes, and so I'm gonna make sure that you're gonna tell us everywhere people can follow you. But thoughts from the throne, it's a catchy little thing, right? And you're like, thoughts from the throne. How is this guy going to talk about plumbing all day? And honestly, I don't know the last time that I heard anything about plumbing. And it was really about relationships. And you have your beautiful children that come on there. We know that Sherry Ann is in the background, making sure that you're filming them every day. And it's a whole thing that you've set up really to really bring your purpose that you have in your business to everything else, because I feel like you're really translating all of the things that you've learned from a personal development side, and you're bringing it into your family, into your children. And that is something that our generation is very privileged to have, because we've been gifted personal development. We've been gifted the awareness of what personal development can do to us. And so now what do we do with that? Again, it's going to be my second podcast in a row that we use with great power comes great responsibility.
It really
Daniel
does.
Sarmiento did it last one.
Yeah.
And again, like, how are you translating all of these things that you've learned from a professional and personal development side into those values that you have at home?
Well, I am going to tell you a lot of the values I've had from home, I've learned from my family.
Mm.
I have 3 neurodivergent children. All 3 of them are neurodivergent. I feel comfortable talking about my oldest daughter, Izzy. She's 14. So legally, I have her permission to talk about it. The other 2 don't have that privilege yet. They're younger. Izzy is autistic. And now we found out. It's not like we found out about 3.5 years ago. And I've learned so much in the journey with her, and learned so much about being a father of a neurodivergent and autistic daughter. I've learned perspective. I've learned drive. I've learned purpose from her. I mean, she used to be, before her diagnosis, she was quirky, but there was a spark and a light that even without the diagnosis, she was special. She is special. And now that we have the diagnosis, and I've been immersing myself and learning about the challenges that she has, but the superpower that she
And
has.
yeah, how to nurture her gifts.
Oh my God, and it's such a superpower
Yeah.
that she has. She is actually the catalyst to our 100 acts of gratitude that we use to celebrate our 100th anniversary.
Wow.
It really all started with a conversation that she had at the dinner table based on starting a cookie drive. Now, if you'll indulge me for a couple of seconds to get
Yeah,
into the story a
will
bit,
do.
when my 2 older ones were younger, before my youngest was born, we used to, their birthdays are September, November, and then we have Hanukkah in December at some point. So what we asked of them is they took one of the gifts that they received from their birthdays that they didn't open, put it aside. And then one of the days of Hanukkah, I know Adam Sandler talks about 8 crazy nights, and it's 8 days of gifts. So we try
Yeah.
to separate. But one of the days of gifts, we'd go to Toys R Us. We would take them and give them $100 budget before tax, because they couldn't calculate tax, but $100 budget to buy things in the store and to donate. And
Mm.
so Izzy would walk around with a notepad, and she'd go to the clearance section and try to buy as many gifts as she could to add up to $100.
Angel.
Where my son would go and find the coolest, biggest gift that fell under the budget, and if there was room, he'd throw in a deck of cards or some slime or something. But then we'd go straight from Toys R Us, and we went to Sun Youth, and we donated it for their gift fund. COVID hit, so here we were. It was after my son's birthday. It was October 2020. She was 9 at the time,
Mhm.
and we're sitting at the supper table, and she said, "Times are hard these days." I'm like, "Yeah, okay,
What's a
um,
9-year-old know about that, right?
okay." Of course, it's COVID. We all have to wear
Yeah.
masks. She's like, no, no, no. People are really struggling with money and families are having a harder time now. I'm like, okay. She's like, but we don't have birthdays. We haven't had birthday parties this year. And so we don't have gifts that we could give away. I'm like, okay. So we should raise money so we could give them the gifts still, even though we don't have the gifts. I'm like, okay, how are you going to raise the money? She's like, let's have a fundraiser. I'm like, okay, that's what raising money is. Like, Mom, you know those cookies you make? Yeah, we should sell those. And okay, so and then she came up with the whole concept of the cookie sales, all at a family dinner because we couldn't give the gifts anymore. And it's been, we've so far, we've done it for 5 years. And if my calculations are correct, we have raised
Drum roll.
almost $25,000.
Oh my.
The first few years up until it went to Sun Youth and the Gift Fund, and last year we helped sponsor through the Starlight Foundation. We helped sponsor Herb's Secret Santa, and what they do is across Canada they closed Toys R Us's for an afternoon, and they bust in kids from the hospital, and they each got a gift card at Toys R Us, and there's superheroes there, and a DJ, and haircuts for the parents. Because when kids are in the hospital, parents don't even think about haircuts for themselves. It's the last thing. So there were hairdressers there and blow-ups for the kids, and we brought cookies too. And we helped sponsor that event. And last year, like, it was their 9th anniversary, and it was something super beautiful about being able to give back. And it was through that spirit that we really came up with 100 acts of gratitude to give back to the community, to the clients, to the employees that have helped get us there. And it's that mindset shift. So really it's COVID, having a different understanding of family, having a different understanding of the impact we can have. And the beautiful thing about Izzy is that she doesn't look at the restraints. Because to her, I always said that not only did she not fit into a box, but she wasn't aware there was a box, which, according to Miranda Lambert, it takes all kinds of kinds. And that is what makes the world an amazing and beautiful place. And I truly believe her and my other two are going to change the world for the better because they see the world in such a different way than neurotypical people ever can. And so I'm constantly learning from them. And it is, yeah.
This was extremely profound. Like, I have 1,000 questions, 1,000 comments. I don't even know how much time we're gonna have. We're at like 40 minutes already. I can't even believe it. But
I don't feel
how
like
did
I
the
got
time go?
started yet.
How did this go? I have to give you credit here. And I'm going to give credit to your parents, your grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, because it sounds to me that, you know, the fundamental baseline values that you have learned through the past 4, maybe 5, 6, 7, 10 generations of Levine have really like morphed into what you have decided to do for Levine Bros, fundamentally based upon your purpose that is actually fueled through multiple avenues in your life. And so that for me, that's what I'm hearing here, is that like your purpose is fulfilled through your kids, your purpose is fulfilled through their purpose, like whatever they choose, watching them explode into this incredible world every day, and seeing them do these things. Like Izzy's fundamental baseline for helping other people, right? It's like that came from the incredible work that you and Sherry Ann and that your grandparents and all of the other people in your life, and also the work that you've done on yourself, right? Because I think you said you've only started your personal development journey 8 years ago when you got a coach. But I will challenge that and say that I really do believe that personal development was one of the fundamental baselines of what your family had previously given you as a gift. The allowance to go out and create your own path, the allowance to learning who you are, what you like, what you don't like, how you want to operate outside of the box that actually traditionally exists in a lot of things. And so the fact that not only did you take that but you've actually jumped on that bandwagon and said, hey, this is actually the way to go. I do want to commend you on that, because it's really beautiful to watch you and your family, you, Sherry Ann, all three of your kids, watching them do these incredible things. And I myself buy cookies every year, and they're the best cookies I've ever had. And I know about all of the other initiatives that you've been doing in your business. And I commend you for it.
Thank you. So I guess I would say intentional
It is intentional.
purpose, intentional personal development, really being working with coaches,
Mhm.
working with, and listen, I've seen therapists and I've sat down and they've helped me with struggles between responsibilities of home and business, which
Mhm.
is a huge struggle for business owners, entrepreneurs, and something that I've struggled with probably my whole professional life.
Yeah.
From uh, being able to better myself, being able to structure the business for in a way that we never had before, being able to structure my intentionality on what I do and
Mhm.
how I help and support the different people in my office. These are all things that I never thought about before. It was just, all right, work's coming in, get it done.
Mm.
But serve, my dad's philosophy was serve the client to the best of our abilities. They will appreciate it. And that is how we will sustain. And they will tell people, and that's how we'll grow. It was an amazing philosophy to build on, but not to stop at. And
Mm.
that's where I really feel that the business has been able to grow in philosophy to build on what was there before.
That was very profound, Ben. We're gonna have a lot of mic drop moments in this conversation. That's for sure. Okay, so in order to like wrap this up,
What?
yeah,
Already? I have
already.
so
I
many
know.
more
You know
bullet
what?
points
I
to
think
talk about.
we're gonna have to do a part two, Ben. I think we're gonna have to do a part two.
I am open and available and game when you are.
Amazing. I love it. So I think we'll do a part two, because I think that we're gonna have questions from people. They're gonna want to hear more about your family, more
I
about your
I think
development journey.
and also, like, Sharian's impact
Yeah.
on me, my development, things that have happened in our lives that have really brought okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, a lot. So, if I were to ask you today, what is the number one advice that you would give to a young person that is questioning everything?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wow, that is as
yeah.
ridiculously open-ended as you could get.
I
Okay.
know, but I wanted to give it an option to like just, free flow it if you need.
There's first understand your environment. Understand, yes, question, but question the why, not just the what.
Mm,
That's one. Also, don't be scared of awkward conversations. Don't be scared of not having, don't be scared of having a conversation you think someone will get mad at if this is something that you truly feel you need to talk about. If this is something that'll set up your path where you're at a fork in the road. I mean, we're always at forks in the road.
yeah.
But if you don't have that shining light and you need to find which way and you get to choose, getting to choose is amazing,
Mhm.
but you will regret not having a conversation with your boss, with your family, with your wife, with your father, with your anybody. You will regret it. It'll take more of a toll on you. And maybe it won't affect anybody else but you, but that isn't that important to have those conversations, to make the time. Yeah, you're right. Free flowing really works because making the time, everybody is busy, and that's a great buzzword that we all talk about. How you doing? Oh, I'm so busy. Everybody is so busy.
We're all busy.
But what are you busy doing? What are you not making the time for? What do they say? If you want anything done, just ask an already busy person because they will make the time for it. In life, you will make time for things that are important.
Mm,
Shift the phrase in your mind to don't have time to do that to I'm not prioritizing to do that.
big time.
Make conscious decisions of how you spend your time. Don't let everything dictate so you don't have time for what you feel is a priority for you in your life. If you shift that, I don't have priority for it. And by the way, that's okay to make those choices in life. We need to make time choices. We need to make choices as to where we spend our time and even beyond time, our energy, because energy is finite, Find things that energize you. Find things in work that energizes you, that fulfills your purpose, your why.
Not just your bank
Understand.
account. Not just the bank account,
Not
right?
just the bank account, because then you will lead a very unhappy life. We have, I hate to say it like this, we have but one life to live. Let's not waste it. Let's live and work within our purpose. Work shouldn't be something that we dread on Sunday nights. It shouldn't be something that you want to call in sick for. It should be something that is in line with your values and what you want. Find a company, find a path that amplifies your values and is within your purpose.
Was
I
phenomenal.
don't think I could go beyond.
Again, you just dropped the mic again for us. There's going to be so many golden nuggets. I can't wait to start chopping this up. And it was really my honor to have you on here. Thank you so much for joining me. We are going to be doing a part 2, 100%. I am going to have all of Ben's information. The links are all going to be posted in the show notes on every single platform. You can find Ben Levine on all social medias. I don't know. You want to list off a couple?
Yeah, let's do it. Facebook is Levine Bros, which, by the way, that's where I go live on Thoughts from the Throne, Fridays at noon. Instagram, Levine Bros. TikTok, YouTube, and then connect with me on LinkedIn, Ben Levine, Levine Brothers Plumbing, Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Thank you, Ben, so much. This was incredible. Guys, thank you for tuning into Crystal Coaching Connections. I'm so happy to have had this conversation. Drop your comments down below. Let me know what you thought about the episode. And if you have any ideas about who you want to see on my show next, let me know. All right. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.